The Nikkor Z24-200mm F4-6.3 VR is built well, covers a wide range of angles, and nets sharp photos. It isn't a low-light wonder, but it's still a super zoom lens worth buying. Photographers choose all-in-one zoom lenses out of convenience. These lenses cover everything from wide angles to modest telephoto, so you don't have to carry more than one or swap out glass when out making photos. The Nikon Nikkor Z24-200mm F4-6.3 VR, $899.99, is an example of one done right. It has plenty of zoom power, delivers sharp results, and is sized perfectly for full-frame Z cameras. The modest f-stop means it's best suited for use in daylight, and the focus motor isn't as assertive as pro-grade Nikkor lenses, but those are very reasonable compromises. The 24-200mm is a fine example of what an all-in-one lens should be, and a good match for Z photographers after a one-lens solution for travel and walks about town. The Z24-200mm F4-6.3 VR is reasonably sized, especially when compared with big zooms like the f/28-300mm for Nikon SLR systems. The Z lens comes in at 4.5 by 3.0 inches, HD, and about 1.3 pounds. The barrel extends when zoomed in, which is expected for an all-in-one, nearly doubling in length at 200mm. There is some dust and splash protection included, and the front element is protected with anti-smudge fluorine. The included lens hood adds some extra protection and cuts down on flare. You can also add the protective, neutral density, or other filter. The lens has a 67mm thread. On lens controls are minimal. There's a lock switch, and when engaged it keeps the lens set at its shortest 24mm position. The zoom ring takes up most of the real estate. It's rubberized with the typical raised ridge pattern, so it's comfortable to use, even when wearing gloves. The narrow control ring, used to set manual focus or certain camera functions, is just behind. The control ring function is a great idea. If you've got the camera set to autofocus, you can use it to set the f-stop, ISO, or EV compensation. But the implementation is disappointing. The ring turns freely, and responds with incredible sensitivity. I found it nearly impossible to dial in-minute adjustments in testing, even when taking care to turn the ring slowly. A camera setting to adjust sensitivity would go a long way to improve things. Manual focus is a little easier. The lens ramps its response, so turn the focus ring slowly for fine adjustments, or more quickly to shift focus dramatically. It's not a good fit for pulling focus manually for video, where a linear response is preferred. The breathing effect, a change in angle as focus changes, is minimal, which is a plus mark for video use. The autofocus system is accurate, but a little slower than you get with the Pro Zoom like the Nikkor Z24-70mm f2.8s. I didn't miss any shots in the field, but did notice the lens taking a beat to drive and lock focus when paired with the Z7 II. Focus is available to 1.6 feet at the wide end and 2.3 feet when zoomed all the way in. At its best the lens nets a very decent 1 to 3.6 life-size reproduction capability, a useful macro rating for an all-in-one zoom. It's not far off of what you get with the shorter Nikkor Z24-70mm f4s, 1 to 3.3. I paired the 24-200mm with the 45MP Z7 II for testing, and used the latest software for lab tests. The lens delivers images with strong contrast. At 24mm, it captures photos with very good resolution wide open, and is in the excellent range when stopped down to f/5.6. Edge detail is a little muddy at wider apertures, but sharp at f/8. The maximum f-stop drops off pretty quickly with this one. It's at f/5.6 at 50mm, and down to f/6.3 at 80mm. Resolution isn't quite as strong as at the wide angle, but it still delivers very good results on the Z7 II. Images are a little softer, at the bottom of our good performance range for this camera, 3,300 lines, when zoomed all the way in. In-camera corrections remove barrel and pin cushion distortion from JPGs, and Nikon embeds a correction profile in RAW images so you don't have to rely on an Adobe profile. There is a slight vignette in photos made at 24mm F/4. It won't show in every photo, but you can see the darkened corners in the sky in the image above. Photographers with Nikon Z equipment have a few options when it comes to zoom lenses. The Nikkor Z 24-200mm F4-6.3 VR has the longest zoom range, while keeping dimensions comfortable for travel, hikes, and any other time where you don't want to fuss with changing lenses. It delivers crisp photos and includes features typically reserved for premium optics, like anti-smudge fluorine to keep fingerprints off the glass. There are a couple of drawbacks. The autofocus motor isn't quite instant, and the narrow aperture means you won't use it for snapshots in dim interiors. Even so, it's one of the better examples of an all-in-one zoom, one that's a good match for full-frame and DX Nikon Z cameras, too. If you want higher quality optics, you'll have to sacrifice zoom range. The Nikkor Z 24-70mm f2.8 is the best standard lens for the system, but is costly, around $2,300. The 24-70mm f4 is a solid alternative at around $1,000, but it skimps on zoom power. Nikon has a 24-105mm coming for the system at some point, but we don't know much about the lens, other than it will be part of the Premium S line. That leaves the 24-200mm as the choice for photographers who want a bit of extra zoom power for backyard wildlife, outdoor sports, and other similar scenes, without having to swap out lenses.